Derek, you guys have talked a little bit about MVS, but like when a guy who has played a long time in the league, has had a lot of success, just kind of gets kind of let go by a team mid-season, like how do you incorporate that guy in? Like how do you kind of get him back to being what he's kind of always been?
Yeah, you don't. I know just as well as he probably does. Some situations are better than others, for each player. Each player doesn't fit every scheme or every organization, whatever. But I think he's found a place where he fits, here. And so I don't know what happened. I just know that we got a really good football player, and I know that he's really smart. So he was able to pick up our offense. He's run some similar routes, and that kind of stuff helps somebody play faster. Then his experience on top of that definitely helps him get on the field.
When you see you playing as well as you ever have in the NFL, what does that entail?
I just think just confidently, just from an experience standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, taking care of the football, big plays, down the field. We've just been able to find those things, and it has so much to do with the system that I'm in, and the guys around me. I'm so thankful that this group has come together the way that it has. Hopefully we can just continue to win football games and we can continue to play well. But I think just from a confidence standpoint, that's just how I feel about where we're at and where these coaches have helped me get to.
Derek, I think you've only taken 7 sacks in 8 games. I think that's the number. Was that a focus going into this year, limiting that number specifically?
Yeah, I think first you got to give credit to our offensive line. They've played really well, especially in some of the past games against some of the people that we've played. So our offensive line has done an outstanding job. And I can't remember when I talked about this, but whenever they play well, it allows me the freedom to play the quarterback position how you want to, manipulate guys and take a half second here. You can move this guy to make that throw, instead of just having to find a quick one to keep the, chains moving and things like that. So I think a lot of that credit just goes to our offensive line and how well that they've played, even though there's been guys in and out. Those guys as a unit, just their togetherness and their unity, has really helped push us as an offensive football team. And so, me personally, just trying my best to throw them away when I can. I know I got an intentional grounding. I think that was last game and or 2 ago, one of our last home games. And but that's me just trying to find somebody to throw it away. So to eliminate that negative play. Now it ended up hurting us, but I'm just a lot goes into that. It's not just all in the O-line. It's me making good decisions, getting the ball. If someone does come free, hey, get it out. Second. Let's not make that bad play worse, right? And so. There's been times where I've just dumped it at AK's feet or, on a bootleg. It's not there, you throw it away. It's like, yeah, it's not what you want, but you live to play the next down. And so we've tried to limit that just as a team, but I think, number one, our offensive line has done an outstanding job.
Rizzi had talked about, just staying focused on each game. But, the last couple, between a winning streak, your return, the offense seems to be kind of clicking better and also getting closer to the top of the NFC South standings. Has the culmination of that had kind of an impact on you and the offense from a momentum perspective?
I got to be completely honest. We were so focused on just getting better that we never lost confidence that we thought we were a good football team. And, if we don't take care of business this week, none of that matters. And I've been in these situations where you've put yourself in a position, but you still have a chance. And you still can fight, and you can still do those things. But none of it matters unless you do the work today and finish the work on Sunday. And so, us in the building, yes, we would love to talk about the things we've been doing well and all that. But there's so much to do and so much to focus on to make sure we continue to give our organization and our fans what they deserve, and that's a winner.
When you have one receiving core in training camp, and then virtually a completely different receiving core in the middle of the season.
Yep.
What are the reasonable expectations in that situation?
Man, the football answer is the expectations don't change, right? And I believe this, that because at the end of the day, nobody cares what the situation is. Did you win or did you lose? And that's true. But it does create some challenges, but they're exciting challenges for guys that, you look at a couple of our guys that get some bigger chances that none of us expected to have a chance. We got someone who wasn't even on our roster making some of the biggest plays for us, right? And that kind of just shows, what this league is like sometimes. And when you get guys that fit into a system and it fits right, and you got good coaches and good guys around them, it leads to us being able to continue to play well. You never replace Chris Olave. You never replace Rashid Shaheed. You don't just say, oh, we'll just plug this guy and he'll be better. It's like that guy brought something special, but we have some guys in the building now that bring something special themselves as well. And so you got to tip your hat to Mickey and the front office too for seeing our offense, throughout those first weeks. And then we have the injuries. Okay, well, what kind of guys fit those roles? You don't just bring guys in because they're, guys, they have to fit those roles, be able to run those routes. And that's a lot of study. That's a lot of film study. And is that guy even out there, And luckily for us, there was a guy out there that could fit a role and do things for us. But, expectation doesn't change, but it definitely presents some different challenges, especially when you got to deal with it in the middle of a season.
What stands out about this Rams defense?
Oh man, young, physical defense, great front. They run and hit at linebacker, safeties, getting picks, corners, veteran, smart players, good players, and they disguise their looks. They show you one thing and do three different things from it. They do a great job with the front, moving the front. They play their zones. They when it's they play their man, when they know where their help is and all those things. They do a really good job. They're really well coached. You can tell. Some of the things you watch, some of the things that stand out just over the years, you see that they're well coached, but you see a young, hungry defense. And, especially over the last few weeks, they've played really well. I know they didn't have the result they wanted this last game, but that doesn't mean everything. When you watch the tape over and over again, you see who they are, and they really physical, really good front, really good team. We have our work cut out against this team for sure.
You mentioned how good the front is, and obviously they've had Aaron Donald for forever.
Yeah.
Like, what do you see from their defensive? Like how have they maybe changed? If at all?
Oh yeah, 99's not there. That's the biggest change. But they're still getting so much production and pressures from 5-6 different guys, and that speaks to how they drafted, the guys they've added. That speaks to the talent that's in those rooms. It speaks to the coaching, and putting them in position, right? So they've done a fantastic job in continuing to create pressure and create problems for offenses. I've said this, Aaron Donald's the best football player I've ever played against. He's unbelievable. Probably from the greatest draft class ever too. That's a joke, but he is a good football player, and he was a walking Hall of Famer every day he was out there. And anytime you lose a guy like that, again, you don't replace Aaron Donald, but the guys that have stepped in have done a fantastic job of creating pressure and creating havoc to give their team a chance to win.
What do you think your offense last week or last year, obviously the overall struggles with the team against the Rams, but even like how an offense got the ball multiple times plus territory,
yes,
still weren't able to produce points.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can take away from that game last year that you can apply to this game?
Yes and no. Personally, you can always look at things, for yourself and things like that, but the answer is yes and no. There's some things, but you definitely go back and study. As a football player, that's our job, right? You go back, make sure you learn from those mistakes. Why did certain things happen? And you continually try and be better at it. And it just took us too long to get going in that game. I remember that. So, you got to come out and start fast, especially against an offense like this. They can score. These guys are Super Bowl champs. They know how to score. They know how to win games. And so we have definitely our work cut out for us.
You obviously had high praise for that Rams defense, but based on kind of what you all do offensively and what you bring to the table, how do you think you match up with that Rams defense?
It's going to be a great challenge. Every week in the NFL is a great challenge. I think we see that every week in the league where this team won't win, and then they somehow win, or they barely lose the football game. It's like this. The talent gap is not that far, in this league. It just comes down to a few plays here and there. These games are one-score games, and so just like every week, they present certain challenges for us that they do schematically, that they do personnel-wise. But we feel like we do the same thing for other defenses, and so it's a chess game. It's a chess match against each other. Every time you go out there, and you hope that by the end of it you've prepared, for the game as well as you could, and you put your best foot forward.
You're watching an upcoming opponent defensively, and they get gashed in a certain area. It could be in the passing game, but for them last week it was Saquon Barkley, right? Yeah. Whenever that's happened throughout your career, what have you learned to expect from them in that area where they looked vulnerable the week before? Oh yeah,
these are professionals. They're going to come out and know that, they know that we see the looks, they see the looks, we see the runs, they see the runs. Everyone sees the thing, but what fits us schematically, what fits, what are things that they could do different. And one thing that I've always done in my career is like, okay, what coverages do they play and what looks do they give? And I always look, okay, what else can they do out of that? What else could they possibly do that would help them in this area or that area? Just so mentally, I have always just try to stay ahead. You don't just look at the page and say, oh, that's what they're going to do. Because more times than not, you're going to get a wrinkle, you're going to get something a little different. So, maybe they didn't have the success they wanted in that, but teams are always going to search for answers. And so you can expect them to, okay, this run or this fit or this front, how can they do it different, all that kind of stuff. Is it a guy moving a guy here or here? All of that can play a role. What will it be against them? I don't know. We're not in their meetings, but you try your best to prepare for those kind of things.
Simple question, maybe not a simple answer. When Taysom has the ball in his hands, what makes him an effective runner?
It's all the work that he does before the season even starts. That's what separates him. If you guys were, walk in there with us in the weight room, and you watch him, work out, you would understand. I think everyone would understand like why it's so hard to tackle him. Why is he so explosive? Why is he so fast? It's because he does it in there way before he does it out here. And I think that's the thing. That separates him physically, and then mentally. Like I told y'all before, I sit next to him, and we become really good friends. And I sit next to him, and as I'm going through my call sheet, making all my notes, he's going through his for about 7 different positions, and he's doing that, for every play, thinking about every front, thinking about it. And when a guy prepares like that, it's no coincidence why he has success. Because physically and mentally, when a guy prepares like that, in my career, everybody I've seen do that eventually has success, and usually at a high level out on the field.
You said last week you were ready for the bye week. How do you feel coming out of that?
Yes, better. Yeah, better, physically better. It was a long run. That was a lot of weeks in a row if you count training camp also, and all the training you're doing before that, and it's really no stop, and without a few days here and there. But, I definitely feel better, feel rested. But as my wife can attest, a week at home is a little too long. You're like, I'm itching. I was watching film all week. I was working out. I was still doing stuff, but it is nice to be able to sleep in, for a couple of days.
When you came back from your injury, like obviously you were full go, but like were you 100% at that point? Like, did you need the bye week?
I definitely needed the bye week, but no one's 100% right now. I know we say that, but it's the truth. Like, you go out to practice, and the speed of you're going as hard as you can, but the speed of practice is different than the first day of training camp. You're trying to get your bodies back. You're trying, to do those things, but no one in the NFL right now is 100%. So when I see guys out there making certain plays or certain tackles or certain games that they play, it continues to blow my mind. What guys are able to do in this league, especially with how we all know each other feels at this point.
To that point, coming off the bye, having 6 games left, what's maybe the message and the focus like going into the final round?
Rams 1-0. Rams 1-0 this week. That's it. Yep. But we can't think ahead, can't look behind. That's what the bye week was for, to self-reflect and all that. But it's focused on the Rams and trying to get a win, because they beat us last year.
Gotta ask you, number one Thanksgiving side.
For me, mashed potatoes. My mom would always, they'd always make, her and my grandmother would make the Thanksgiving meal. And then my mom would always have just a separate pot of mashed potatoes for me, because she knew that's what I wanted. So shout out, Mom. Appreciate it. Now my wife does that for me, so thank you. So mashed potatoes for me for sure. Good.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it.
Yep.